So let's come back to part 2 where we're creating the where we're creating the table line. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible so that we can get to the main part of this lesson, which is showing a relational diagram. We're first going to start off by typing in the command create table line. And again, go ahead and pause at any point in time if you want to catch up. I'm just going to go through this as fast as possible. Number, integer, not null, and then the next one is going to be line number, also an integer. This is our primary key. And then our next one is product code. Just going to type this out as integer, and then line units, also integer, not null, line price, oops, forgot my underscore price. This one's going to be money since it's a price, not null. Then we're going to do line amount. Also, I'm just going to type in money because I believe that's going to be a money value, not null. Then we're going to type out our foreign key constraint, which is our invoice number, which it's referencing back to the invoice table. So we're going to type out constraint space invoice. We're naming right now the foreign key. So this is what we're naming it, invoice number foreign key. We're identifying it as a foreign key in reference to the invoice number field, or I shouldn't say field, column, referencing, enter, referencing invoice, invoice number. Alright, our next statement is going to be for our vendor table, which, as I said before, I think I have already a vendor table in one of my other databases that's on the same server, so I'm just going to make sure I title this vendor 2. But in your case, you may just title it vendor if you want. We're going to create another table, vendor 2. Primary key. Again, with the varchar, because this is a name, and I'm just selecting just some random round number for the amount of characters. You can put whatever's reasonable. Again, this is just some plain text, so I'm going to use varchar in case anybody wants to throw some numbers in there. Not null. This one is actually going to be integer because it's vendor area code. This one's a state, so I'm going to put varchar 2. It's just going to be the initials of the state. That makes sense. Next is vendor order. And that should end the statement for vendor 2 table. And I believe this is going to be our last table which is our product. And the reason why I'm doing the vendor two, like if you look at the diagram, the reason why I'm doing the vendor two is because we're going to reference back here for this vendor number. This vendor number is a foreign key, and the vendor number here is a primary key. So I got to put this primary key constraint statement first before I can put this vendor number foreign key statement. So that's why I skipped kind of the order, so that I can create the primary key first from the vendor table before I can do the product where it references the vendor number as the foreign key. So I should have explained that before I started doing it, but that's the reasoning behind me creating these tables a little out of order. You'll get an error if you do it the other way around, because it'll state to you that there isn't a primary key that exists for that foreign key. So here I'm going to create table product product table, and now I'm going to create the statement for each column. First one's going to be product code. It's going to be an integer, but it's also going to be our primary key. And we got product description. Varchar 20. It probably should be more because it's a description, but I'm just putting 20 because it's a round number. Next is prod in date. I'm just going to type update. Not null. This is QOH, quantity on hand. That's if you ever see this statement or this abbreviation for a table. This means quantity on hand. It's going to be very common to see if you're building out databases for places that do inventory. Int, not null. And then we've got product minimum, min. I'm also going to make this, these are all counts, by the way, so they're integers, it's counts of product. Then we got product price. This is actually the invoice lists, the inventory list itself. Alright, now here's where we're going to put in our foreign key that I was mentioning earlier. So we're going to type in constraint. We're going to name it vend underscore number underscore FK for foreign key. Foreign key is the identity of it. Vend number is the column where we're naming that foreign key from. And then we're referencing the vendor to table, vendor number column. There we go. Have that all typed out. Hopefully I don't have any typos in this. Just going to highlight everything. And if you notice, I put all these go statements so it's continuous. One statement after the other should launch off in unison. And I'm just going to hit execute. Hopefully no errors. Perfect. Commands completed successfully. Completion time. Make sure you double check. Don't do it as fast as I did. Just make sure you double check before you hit that execute to avoid any typos. and that you have commas where they need to be, that you put all the foreign keys where they belong, and the primary keys and so on. And just to double check it, I'm going to open up databases. I'm actually going to refresh my server, databases, and you'll see right here sales, tables. Here are my tables popping up, and you can see here I've got my invoice line, product, my vendor 2, my customer 2, and then if we just open up one of these, you can see the columns, and there's my primary key listed there. I believe invoice had primary and foreign key. You can also see it also listed here, primary. There's foreign. These are the names of the various keys that I created, and that concludes how to make that table. Next, I'll go through how to set up a relational diagram for this. So come back to the next video for part 3.